Well, good evening and welcome to the final game of day one of the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic. We've got the Fairland Dragons and the Zane Trace Pioneers battling it out to finish off what's been an exciting day to open up basketball season here in the state of Ohio. 2 20-win seasons a year ago for both of these teams. And we get to see them battle it out tonight here on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health. Want to wish you a happy early Thanksgiving tonight, and thank you for tuning in. Carson Francis and Shane Combs joining you tonight. Shane, pretty intriguing matchup on paper on both sides.
Well, absolutely. Happy basketball season to you, and happy Thanksgiving as well. It's good to be with you. And you know, I like what you said there. A couple 20-win teams. They kind of mirror each other in terms of what they have coming back, what they lost, and you add all that up, and it should be a great cap to day one here at what's been a really good day at the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic.
Shane, let's start by taking a look at Fairland. Not only did they lose a lot of key pieces to their team on the floor, including the likes of Brody Buchanan, who was a second-team All-State member. He's now playing at Rio Grande. They also lost Keegan Smith, Gabe Polson, key starters the past couple years. They also lost their 15-year head coach, Nathan Speed, stepped down after becoming the program's all-time leader in wins. Now in comes Scott Thomas, looking to keep this program where Nathan Speed had it.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire. I think it's a connection to the program, and you're right. There's great tradition there at Fairland. They love their basketball, and those young men that you named off were certainly some really good players, so some big holes to fill in your lineup. But when you start looking down through and you start seeing some of the names that we're going to highlight here this evening, got a couple kids that averaged double figures themselves a year ago, and Franson and Laco and company, and I think like all good programs, there's not a whole lot of rebuild to it. It's more of a reload, and I'm sure we'll see that on display here this evening.
Fairland, a team that doesn't return a ton of varsity experience, but two of the guys they do return, you mentioned, Shane, were pretty big in their run last season. That got them to a 21-2 final record, including Trevor Laco, who you mentioned, 9.6 points, 2 assists per game. And then also the 6'3 senior Cliff Franson averaged 12 points, just under 7 rebounds a game. They're going to look to those two as the leaders, the experienced, the veterans on this team, to get them to repeat the success that this Fairland program has had over the years.
Yeah, it's a big jump for that duo, because a lot of times what people miss, Carson, is this. They recognize when a kid is a first-year varsity player, right? They recognize that here was a JV kid coming up to varsity. What they don't always recognize is the jump of the varsity kid who now is taking on a different role. So a lot of those guys were maybe a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 option. Now what happens is you become the top of the scouting report. You're going to start to see more and more teams throw some things at you that maybe you've not seen before, and there's an adjustment period. But those two young men can really score, and they have a couple teammates along the way that should help them quite a bit.
And speaking of an adjustment, last season for Zane Trace, there were some questions on whether or not Tyler Cassidy would be able to maintain the same success as his predecessor, Gary Kello, who also retired from Zane Trace as their program's all-time leader in wins as well. But in year one of the Tyler Cassidy era, Zane Trace put up a phenomenal season, 20-5, second in the SVC, made it to the district final before falling to the eventual regional champion, the Menford Falcons. And they're also in a similar position to Fairland, in which they lost a lot of experience from that team a season ago, but they returned 2 very skilled young men in Gunnar McCullough and Grady Stewart, 2 guys that we saw what they can do athletically all throughout football season. And they've been really huge for this Pioneer basketball program as well.
Yeah, they really have. McCullough and Stewart come back, averaging about 27 a game together last year. And Coach Cassidy, I thought, just did an outstanding job. Does a real good job of coaching on the defensive end. They run good stuff on offense. Remember, they went through a pretty big injury to Gerald a year ago, their outstanding point guard, and he eventually returned. Obviously, has since been lost to graduation, as you know, a guy like Robinson as well. But you know, beyond Stewart and McCullough, remember Roman Berry, the 5'9 junior now as a sophomore, got a lot of playing time at that point guard position, so that should help going into this year. But after that, what you're going to find is Zane Trace just has a boatload of athletes. So how much will the basketball skill and how much will the varsity level slow down there? We'll have to wait and see. But athletically, night in, night out, they'll never be overmatched in that aspect, in my opinion.
And you talk about athleticism for Zane Trace. They've got some pretty talented athletes that haven't stepped foot on a basketball court in a while, making their return to the hardwood this year. The likes of Hudson Williams, Bryce Johnson, Lucas Euler, some guys you might recognize from football, from baseball. They're making their way onto the basketball team now, and when it comes to athleticism, it's kind of a question what kind of options Zane Trace will go with, but they definitely have no shortage of choices.
No, they don't, and usually where that shows up, Carson, is defensively and on the glass. When it comes to the 50-50 balls, when it comes to guarding people, when it comes to being able to just keep the ball alive in terms of rebounding. The biggest challenge for them will be in some of the fundamental just rhythm type things, dribble, pass, catch, shoot, pivot, the most basic things. That's probably going to be the biggest transition. But again, as I said, and it's kind of what you're talking about in your point, when it comes to just matching up with athleticism, those guys certainly add a lot to the Pioneer lineup.
Zane Trace coming off a season, again, 20-5 overall. They graduated 6 seniors off of that team from last year, including 3 members of the All-SEC team, Landon Robinson, Ezra Rippeth, and Noah Houston. They also lost Landon Jarrell, who was their starting point guard for a while, averaged 9.4 points, 5.3 assists for the Pioneers last season. Looking at both of these programs, what they've lost and what they have coming back, how do these programs adjust to all of this change that has been in and out of both programs?
Well, first of all, I think you have expectations on both sides. So as you come up through the program, be it in junior high or you're playing on a JV team or you're in a varsity practice role and then now trying to earn varsity minutes, I think the expectation is part of that transition. It's just an automatic flow to the next level. As far as the basketball itself, really pay attention to the point guard play. So many times the floor general can really settle you in. As I watch a lot of early season basketball, a lot of teams can hide a lot of things if they're really pure at the point guard position and they really handle it there and make good decisions. So that'll be something I have my eye on here this evening.
It's definitely an even matchup on paper given what these teams did last year, what they have coming back. Should be an exciting way to end what's been an exciting day of basketball. Shane, we've been here all day. You and John had the Huntington-Amanda Clear Creek game at 3 o'clock, a nice win to start the season for the Huntsmen. We also got to see Adina in action as well, getting a win over New Hope Christian Academy in what was probably the first game in the whole state of Ohio. that 1 o'clock tip-off here at Zane Trace, and win number 1 for head coach Andrew Day in his first year as the boys head coach at Adina. And then the game right before this, Bexley and Logan Elm going down to the wire. That was a pretty entertaining one.
It really has been an entertaining day. I was impressed with the JV performance this morning with the Zane Trace and New Hope. I thought that was well played. Zane Trace was able to, as you say, get out front. Couple numbers from what you're saying there. Adina 66, New Hope 48. Unofficially, when they announced him MVP, Joey Francis of Adina had 24 points in that game. And then in our game that I had with John, Huntington 49, Amanda 35. Huntington, I know, led by at least probably 20 at one point in that game. They controlled it start to finish. Frankie Hurst, their outstanding junior guard. John had him unofficially at 19 points, 11 rebounds. He was named the team MVP. And then that game we just watched, again, I don't have Neff's totals, maybe 14. I know he hit some free throws late. But, man, that was an entertaining basketball game. Had a really tough call late in the game there against Bexley. It kind of flipped it, and then Logan Elm took advantage and went on to win. I think with those free throws, by 4?
They 50-46 was the final.
Yeah. So you're right. Great day of basketball, and you and I are going to try to cap it off here with the best one yet.
Should be an exciting way to end night 1 of the high school basketball season here in the state of Ohio. Zane Trace and Fairland finish off day 1 of the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic. Here in just a few minutes, we'll take a quick break. and come back for player introductions and tip-off. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
At Chillicothe Comfort Heating and Air.
The difference that comfort makes.
Are you looking for the best deals on quality used trucks and cars?
Great news, Chillicothe Truck has what you're looking for.
Choose from a wide selection of makes and models. All vehicles undergo a detailed multi-point inspection and extensive reconditioning before hitting the lot. Our friendly team offers a no-pressure sales experience, ensuring you find the perfect vehicle to fit your needs. Plus, you can customize your ride with our extensive range of truck accessories, from bed covers to lift kits. Stop by 173 Rennick Avenue in Chillicothe or call us today at 740-773-8782 to get started right now.
At North Fork Animal Clinic, we're more than your pet's health care. We're your neighbors. We combine top quality veterinary care with the availability you can count on, keeping tails wagging and pets thriving. And as proud supporters of youth sports in Southern Ohio, we're committed to helping our whole community grow strong. North Fork Animal Clinic, caring for pets, supporting our community.
For 175 years, the Glockner name has stood for trust. Today, that promise continues. Every time your family turns the key. Generations have trusted us for one reason. We never stopped caring. From preschool drop-offs to road trips, you leave our service center knowing your family is in the safest hands possible. 175 years of social proof that this isn't just service. It's a promise from our family to yours.
Back here inside Zane Trace High School, just about 2.5 minutes to go from tip-off for this season opener between the Fairland Dragons and the Zane Trace Pioneers. Carson Francis, Shane Combs back with you. Shane, you talked about a little bit how the point guard battle was going to be key for both sides, especially in just establishing an identity in game one when you consider what's new on both sides. What do you think some other keys to this game will be on each side?
Well, a lot of times you get into some turnovers, and rebounding seem to always be pivotal stats in basketball. But here's one I don't know that we have a great stat to quantify, but like John and I were talking earlier, shot selection. You know, early in the year, you're trying for a lot of role identification. You're trying to get people comfortable in new roles. And there's been a lot of basketball throughout the girls and even here in day one on the boys' side where you've had the live ball turnover that certainly has led to points on the other end, which those are obviously no-nos. But also equally important is shot selection and how it can really lead to some bad floor balance and bad secondary and fast break defense. And it's really, we've watched some teams really cash in on that. And again, I think a lot of that comes back to new year, new roles, as I said in our first segment, and some kids are maybe starting to figure out with their coaching staff, what is a good shot? Is this the type of shot that the staff wants me to take? If not, how can I start to get some of those shots? And I think that's all part of early season basketball that you have to iron out so for teams to find the proper rhythm.
And especially when, you know, for Fairland's case, you're playing in a league that's always really competitive year in, year out. You've got Chesapeake, who's expected to be one of the top teams in Southeast Ohio. Ironton's always competitive. Portsmouth, South Point. It's always a tough league to play in top to bottom of the OVC. And then Zane Trace, you're looking to, you know, you haven't won the SVC in a long time. You've got Unioto, who's always competitive. You know, we saw Huntington, we saw Adena. Should be an interesting top half of the league for sure in the SVC. You want to use these games. Obviously, you're playing to win, but you want to use these games to work to be in your best shape come league play.
You do. I mean, obviously, these start to count for real, so that overall record starts to be a big impact, and you want to win. You want to start to earn seeding. But at the same time, you're right. As you get into some of these non-league tests, you're trying to iron some things out, and you try to put some things on film so that when you do come up on the league, because these are two teams they're going to be picked, and rightfully so, to compete towards the top of their respective conferences there in the Scioto Valley Conference as well as the Ohio Valley Conference.
Quickly, the starting lineup for Fairland: Ford Rickard, Trevor Locko, Cliff Franson, Gerald Love, and Maddox Goo. The starting five for the Dragons. And now we take you down to the floor to the public address announcer for the Zane Trace starting lineup. The starting five for the Pioneers in Game 1, Year 2 of the Tyler Cassidy era. Lance Stevens, Noah Kaiser, Grady Stewart, Roman Berry, and Gunnar McCullough, the first five out for Zane Trace. It will be Cliff Franson and Gunnar McCullough standing in center circle to get this nightcap of the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic underway. Thanksgiving Eve basketball underway from Kinnickinnick. It's the Fairland Dragons taking possession. Locko with it on the drive, kicks it out. Here's Maddox Goo, pulls up from inside, and the first points of the season go to Maddox Goo. Dragons up first.
Right off the bat, good playmaking from the point guard to get an easy look for a teammate.
Zane Trace with its first possession now. Here's Grady Stewart out to Roman Berry. Now Stewart fires from outside off the front iron, and a scramble for it. Fairland comes up with the loose ball, and they're going to say he traveled. That was Ford Rickard diving on the loose ball. And the travel gives it back to the Pioneers.
Yeah, great effort from both sides there.
He buried inbound for the Pioneers, gets it into McCullough, and he loses it. Ford Rickard grabs it. Cliff Franson with possession, averaged 12 points a game a season ago, gets tied up, and he travels.
Yeah, Carson, you see it a little bit here in the opening couple possessions. You just get a little antsy. Just everybody's got to calm down and settle into opening night. You see some happy feet there on the travel.
Cliff Franson, the second-team All-District member from last season. Zane Trace still looking for their first points. Here's Lance Stevens, the 6'2 junior, now gives it out to Grady Stewart. Pioneers working the perimeter. Here's McCullough. Now back out to Stevens. Now Berry inside to McCullough on the post. He'll back it out.
Yeah, great job defensively. Fairland not letting McCullough get to a spot.
Pioneers still surveying outside, trying to feed McCullough inside. They get him out near the short corner. Now McCullough trying to back down his defender. He kicks it out. Here's Stevens on the drive. The underhand layup is no good, but he draws the foul.
Yeah, great ball fake. Got the defender in the air. Then was able to attack the basket. And then the lefty able to go to his offhand. The right hand couldn't get it to go, but it's going to get to go to the free throw line.
Stevens able to knock down the free throw, gets the first point of the season for Zane Trace. Stevens saw minimal playing time for the Pioneers last season, averaged about 3 minutes a game, saw some action late in a lot of games. As Stevens splits the difference at the line, and Trevor Locko comes up with the rebound for Fairland. Draws the foul on the other end.
That's important to watch, Carson, on how they're going to call the on-ball defense, because both of these teams have some good playmakers off the dribble, so the one-on-one on-ball defense will really be important.
It'll be Locko to bring it up the floor for the Dragons. Locko has some trouble with it, and he lost it. Grady Stewart able to scoop it up for Zane Trace.
Yeah, great help in the dribble gap. Probably tried to do too much with it.
Berry to bring it up the floor for the Pioneers. Now here's Stewart trying to work past Goo. Out in the corner, Stevens pump fakes. McCullough on the elbow, under 6 minutes left in the first quarter. McCullough baseline, tried to kick it out, and it's deflected. Stewart able to get it back on the far side. Good hustle by Ford Rickard. Now Zane Trace trying to hurry back.
Yeah, great athleticism from Stewart.
Stewart on the drive, tough finish at the glass. Grady Stewart cashes in for two, gives the Pioneers the lead and a travel on the other end. Gerald Love couldn't set his feet, and possession goes back to the Pioneers. See the turnovers early on already having an impact on both sides.
Yeah, a little bit of the Zane Trace pressure, but a little bit of Fairland just got to relax and settle into the game a little bit.
Here's Stewart off the ball screen from McCullough. Now inside, McCullough pump fakes, and he's able to finish through contact.
Yeah, great catch, great hands, awareness of where he was at to be able to use the board.
McCullough and Stewart, the deadly duo, as Franson can't connect on a triple. Scramble gets his own rebound, however. Franson unable to possess it cleanly. Here's Goo inside. Rickard down the paint, no good. Franson with the follow, and he finishes at the rim.
Yeah, just a good job staying with it there. Had a fumble recovery over in front of the Zane Trace bench, and then Fairland just stays with it and gets the deuce.
Both teams still working out some kinks early on in game one. Here's Stevens, top of the key, feeds McCullough inside. McCullough pump fakes, tries to go underhand. It's blocked by Franson. And a steal. Here's Maddox Goo. Goo clears it out. Here's Love from outside. It's good. Gerald Love from downtown gives Fairland the lead.
Yeah, and you see on both scoring possessions how they were able to get the ball to the middle off the dribble, make the extra pass, and take a shot well in system.
Gerald Love, a 30% three-point shooter from last season, gets the first one to go, and the Dragons force a turnover on the defensive end. And Tyler Cassidy's going to want a timeout to talk things over. We will quickly take it with them. 7-5 Fairland in front early. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Willie & Son Trucking. Willie & Son Trucking has been a proud supporter of local student athletes, coaches, and athletic programs throughout its history. Be sure to look out for the Shack Athlete of the Week, presented by Willie & Son Trucking, each week at SOSAOhio.com.
4:03 left in this first quarter. A Zane Trace timeout after the Fairland defense forces a turnover. Shane, only 4 minutes into this game, but what have you noticed so far about the way each team is trying to settle in?
Normal early season basketball. You'll notice the defense is oftentimes going to be a little ahead of the offense. The offense will be a little out of rhythm. They'll be sped up a little bit. But the couple times Fairland was able to settle into some of their stuff, get good penetration, they were able to kick it out and get good looks. Then on the Zane Trace end the same way. They're able to execute some of their stuff. McCullough was able to catch it deep. They were able to get to the free throw line once. So which team can settle in and just handle the basketball a little cleaner?
Here's Trevor Locko bringing it up the floor for the Dragons. Locko on the drive, calls his own number and cashes in. Trevor Locko gets his first 2 points of the night.
Yeah, big time move. Averaged about 10 a game a year ago. You can see why.
Zane Trace trying to answer. McCullough being guarded tight by Franson near the logo. McCullough drives, got it stolen. Here's Locko. Locko down the paint, and he finishes on the fast break. Back-to-back baskets from Locko. It's a 6-point lead for Fairland.
Yeah, great defensive effort. That's when teams can turn defense into offense with the live ball turnover.
Hudson Williams subbed into the game for Zane Trace after the timeout. Another loose ball recovered by the Pioneers in the backcourt, and they're going to call a foul on the Dragons.
That's great effort from Bear. A lot of times a point guard get that ball knocked away. If you quit on it, that becomes a layup on the other end. So even when he loses control, just the effort to stay with it, Carson saved his team from giving up another easy one.
Jamison Hill will check into the game for the first time tonight. Give Gunnar McCullough a quick breather. They inbound it to Roman Berry. Now Grady Stewart bringing it up the floor. Grady Stewart, first team All-SEC, third team All-District last season. being doubled. Stewart through contact, kicks it out. Here's Stevens, baseline drive. Stevens double clutch, no good. Williams with the rebound, and he can't finish. And a tie-up on the baseline. It'll be a jump ball possession. Arrow points in favor of the Pioneers.
Yeah, great effort there from Williams, keep it alive. Little contact on the baseline drive. Zane Trace stayed with it, though. Going to win a possession on the OB under.
Roman Berry to inbound. They get it out to Hill, and now Grady Stewart. There's Stewart. Hill fire from outside and hit. Grady Stewart from downtown cuts it back to 3.
Well, when you're going to play Coach Cassidy, one of the things you got to be ready for is that flare screen. They use it to perfection there to get one of their best shooters a good look.
Franson pulls up from the elbow and gets the bounce. 4 points early on for Cliff Franson, 13-8 Dragons. Some back and forth action here recently. Zane Trace trying to chip away. Here's Berry on the drive, high off the glass, can't finish. Franson with the rebound, up the floor to Goo. Goo kicks it out. Here's Kyan Page for 3, no good. And rebound by Jamison Hill. Kyan Page, the senior coming off the bench, can't connect on his first shot, but a great look.
Yeah, he did. Good look in the transition and system, running to a spot.
Now Stevens will fire from downtown. That's no good. Rebound Hudson Williams. Now back out. Here's Berry for 3. Off the back rim. Zane Trace with another opportunity for Stevens. Pioneers will reset. Grady Stewart being guarded tight by Goo. Gets one up, and he's able to finish through contact. Grady Stewart, physical basketball early on. He's got 7.
Carson, give Hudson Williams a lot of credit there. Won 2 extra possessions to get that extra look.
Laco able to answer right back with the pull-up jumper. 6 points on the night for Trevor Laco.
Yeah, good rhythm. Good look at the basket there for him.
Pioneers slowing it down, coming up on a minute to go in this opening frame. Jamison Hill out to Grady Stewart. Now here's Berry, drives, and he traveled. Just going a little too fast on the catch and drive, and it results in a turnover as some substitutions for Zane Trace. McCullough will re-enter, and for the first time tonight, Bryce Johnson will see the floor.
Yeah, you come up in the final minute of the first quarter, you're seeing a little bit of the depth on both sides here. A lot of kids getting some time here in the first quarter.
Berry guarding Stevens up high. A deflection by Stewart. Fairland able to get it back. It's Franson. Now Laco outside. Here's Owen Burcham. Baseline drive from Kyan Page, high off the glass. And no good. Rebound Bryce Johnson. And now Zane Trace slowing it down. 30 seconds left in the first quarter.
Let's see if they hold for the last shot here.
Here's Hill, feeds McCullough inside. McCullough turns, drives, draws the foul, and finishes. Gunnar McCullough, high post, turn and drive, gets the and 1.
Yeah, by far probably the most space he's had to operate so far. Fairland been doing a pretty good job before the catch and then on the catch, making sure they have extra green jerseys around. That time he was able to get a good one-on-one opportunity.
McCullough can't connect on the end 1, and a loose ball. Grady Stewart comes up with that extra possession for the Pioneers.
13 to shoot. Let's see if they run a set.
Here's Roman Berry with it. Up to McCullough. Now Hill back to Berry. Zane Trace trying to find something inside. Here's McCullough, can't finish. Page with the rebound, and that'll bring us to the end of the first quarter. A back and forth battle sees the Fairland Dragons ahead 15-12 through 8 minutes of play. We'll step aside and be right back for the second quarter. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
At North Fork Animal Clinic, we're more than your pet's health care. We're your neighbors. We combine top-quality veterinary care with the availability you can count on, keeping tails wagging and pets thriving. And as proud supporters of youth sports in Southern Ohio, we're committed to helping our whole community grow strong. North Fork Animal Clinic, caring for pets, supporting our community.
For 175 years, the Glockner name has stood for trust. Today, that promise continues. Every every time your family turns the key. Generations have trusted us for one reason. We never stopped caring. From preschool drop-offs to road trips, you leave our service center knowing your family is in the safest hands possible. 175 years of social proof that this isn't just service. It's a promise from our family to yours.
1 quarter down here at Zane Trace. It's Fairland with a 3-point lead over Zane Trace. Carson Francis and Shane Combs with you. Shane, what are some thoughts on the first quarter?
Well, I thought both teams after that timeout started to settle in a little bit. Good execution from Zane Trace there late in the quarter. Just couldn't get the shot to go. But both teams getting the right guys going early there. Been a pretty good matchup so far.
Johnson guarding Laco, one-on-one dribble handoff to Owen Burcham. And he tried to find Ford Rickard coming off the screen, and an errant pass gives it back to the Pioneers. There's Grady Stewart, baseline drive, can't finish. Rebound by McCullough is good. It's back to a 1-point game, put back from Gunnar McCullough.
Yeah, 6 for McCullough. Nice job on the offensive glass.
Franson off the ball screen. Page from downtown, no good. And Burcham fights for the rebound, tried to throw it off for Roman Berry. But they'll say he stepped out of bounds, grabbing that rebound. Zane Trace possession.
Yeah, good hustle. You get a team that shoots a lot of threes. You got to be ready for longer rebounds. Got to make sure you hold those box outs and then go win the ball.
Roman Berry hustles up the floor for Zane Trace. Here's Noah Kaiser from outside. In and out. Bryce Johnson with the rebound, and Johnson with the putback. First points of the night for Bryce Johnson. Pioneers back in front.
Carson, what you're already talking about, Johnson and Williams athletically on the offensive glass having an impact.
Kyan Page gets it back out to Cliff Franson. Fairland trying to answer. Franson pulls up and knocks down the jumper.
Such a tough matchup at 6'3". Gets to a spot, just shoots right over the top.
6 points on the night already for Cliff Franson. The honorable mention All-State member a season ago. There's Grady Stewart at the top of the key. He'll fire and hit. Grady Stewart from outside, his second triple of the night.
Already in the double figures with 10.
Grady Stewart having himself a night early on. Here's Owen Burcham in the corner for Fairland. Now back outside, Laco from downtown. Off the glass, in and out. Rebound by the Pioneers. Stewart, Johnson, McCullough, Berry, and Kaiser, the 5 on the floor for Zane Trace. There's a swing pass out to Berry. Hill drive, underhand layup, can't finish. Tipped by McCullough, won't go either. And the rebound by Franson. McCullough commits the foul.
Yeah, unbelievable effort from McCullough, but that's where he's got to be careful. His value is so big to his team. You don't want to take the effort play away, but you want to really be cautious of foul trouble. That'll be something to watch moving forward.
We'll have Franson bringing it up the floor for the Dragons. It looks like they're going to get the foul on Noah Kaiser, only his first. There's a nice pick and roll from the Dragons, broken up by Stewart. And out of bounds, Fairland will reset.
Yeah, good hustle from Stewart there to break that up. Fairland's going to have an OB opportunity. Looks like they're going to go a box set. Let's see what they go with here.
Laco to inbound for the Dragons. Trying to get it into Franson. They do on the baseline. Now back out. Laco from the corner. No good. And it's McCullough with the rebound. He'll push it up the floor for Zane Trace. McCullough to the cup. Can't finish. And a blocking foul on the Dragons. Maddox Goo on the wrong end of the foul. A nice drive from McCullough. He'll go to the line for 2.
Yeah, a little bit of that athleticism, and you see the body control. Just enough of a little sidestep to earn the trip to the free throw line on the block.
McCullough knocks down the first one. He shot 63% from the stripe last season. Knocks one down from there. Second attempt from McCullough is good. 2 for 2 on that trip from Gunnar McCullough. Makes it a 4-point lead for Zane Trace.
Zane Trace going to move it out and extend the floor for the first time defensively here.
Laco inside to Rickard. Rickard had some trouble with it and he travels. Just a lot of happy feet we've seen from Fairland receiving those entry passes.
Well, nice little change there, coaching-wise. Coach Cassidy and his staff just throw something a little different at them, and you could tell they were a little uncomfortable getting to the spots, and as a result, you get the really the unforced turnover.
Steven Jones enters the game for Fairland for the first time tonight. Dragons getting some fresh legs out there. Here's Stewart, pump fakes, trying to get past Franson, picks up his dribble. Now Stevens feeds McCullough inside. Nice find, and the finish from McCullough.
Yeah, just an outstanding bounce pass. They were able to clear the side. Fairland lost all integrity on the midline.
Love from the corner, airmails that one. McCullough able to haul in the rebound. Fairland not able to capitalize on some of these opportunities. Zane Trace looking to take advantage. Stewart being doubled, finds McCullough, high post, kicks it out. Here's Barry from outside, no good. Jones with the rebound for Fairland, and they're pushing up the floor. Laco through contact, through the double team, and he cashes in at the rim.
Yeah, it's just pushing it with the dribble and challenging the Zane Trace secondary defense, and just not enough white jerseys getting back ahead of the ball.
8 points on the night for Trevor Laco. Fairland still trailing Zane Trace by 4. Here's Bryce Johnson. Drives, pulls up from the block, can't get it to go. Jones hauls in the rebound. Fairland pushing it again. Laco on the near side bench gets fouled by Stewart.
Carson, the 6'4", Jones, the senior, coming in and a couple defensive rebounds there. I think that's big because remember, Zane Trace was having some success on the offensive glass there in the first quarter.
They'll inbound it to Franson. 3:45 remaining in the first half. Franson one-on-one with Hudson Williams. Franson into the teeth of the defense, can't get it to go. Gets his own rebound and the second effort goes. Cliff Franson gets his own putback and cuts the lead back to 2.
Yeah, just a tough matchup. We talked about him getting to a spot. That time he just stays with it and gets the easy putback.
Barry feeds Hudson Williams in the post. Picks up his dribble, gives it back out to Barry. Here's McCullough from outside, finds Williams on the block. Williams back out, Stewart from outside, can't get it to fall. McCullough with the rebound, now back to Barry. Barry pulls up, airmails the jumper. Fairland looking to take advantage of an empty possession for Zane Trace. Here's Franson being guarded by Barry, now trying to back him down. Franson puts one up and can't get it to fall.
Yeah, pretty good job by Barry. They're giving up a lot of size. He was able to make it difficult on Franson, and they get to stop.
It's the 5'8" Barry going against the 6'3" Cliff Franson. Now Barry, he'll drive, tries to feed Williams inside. It's stolen away. Maddox Goo up the floor. Goo tried to find Love on the block, and it's an offensive foul. Lance Stevens in the right place at the right time, takes the contact, gives his team the ball back.
Yeah, two things there. I thought Fairland lost their chance to space the floor a little bit there, and then some great hustle from Zane Trace was able to kind of clog things up, and the player control foul ends up in Zane Trace's favor.
Jamison Hill re-enters the game for Zane Trace, replacing Hudson Williams. It's Barry bringing it up the floor, being guarded by Kyan Page. There's Hill on the wing, finds Stevens in the corner, it's good. Lance Stevens, corner 3. Extends it to 5 for Zane Trace.
Yeah, great set, great screen. Was able to spring the shooter open.
Franson's turnaround jumper won't go, and Hill unable to corral the rebound. It will stay with Fairland.
So far, Zane Trace been pretty solid in the scrimmage area. They've had some times where Fairland's been able to get out in transition against them, but so far in the half court, I think Coach Cassidy's got to be pretty pleased.
Laco couldn't find anything on the inbound. He'll just throw it off of Grady Stewart's foot. And they'll try again this time. Kai and Page will inbound.
Yeah, tight denial. They were trying to spread them out and make a cut. Good job on the inbound getting a piece.
Page gets it into Rickard. Now Franson comes off the ball screen trying to get past Hill. He'll kick it out to Laco and a foul called off the dribble.
They got Stewart there, so that's his second. That's going to force Coach Cassidy to go to the bench probably, and that's going to cost Stewart a couple minutes of playing time here. So right now, Zane Trace +5. Let's pay attention to that foul situation.
Bryce Johnson, the substitution for Zane Trace. Rickard tries to get it in. He lobs one up for Franson, and he comes down with it. Franson off the ball screen. Gets it out. Here's Love, a deep three. It's good. Gerald Love from beyond the arc cuts the lead back to 2.
His second triple, he just doesn't need much space.
Barry on the drive draws the foul. Took a hard fall after the shot. Gerald Love showing off the range on the triple on the other end.
Yeah, and a nice job there. Barry getting downhill. He got a step on him and just positioned his body, and the help defense never got there early enough.
At the line to shoot 2 is Roman Barry, and he knocks down his first. Barry averaged a modest 9.6 minutes a game, only shot 40% from the line a season ago. And he splits the difference on that trip. Rebound, McCullough, and the finish. Gunnar McCullough gives the Pioneers a new opportunity, and it's a quick one. Gets 2 points back. Laco on the drive and off the glass for 2.
Laco now in the double figures with 10. Can't let the ball get that deep if you're Zane Trace.
29-26, Zane Trace. Here's Stevens. Kicks it out to Barry after the baseline drive. Bryce Johnson through contact. Underhand layup is no good, but Gunnar McCullough is there again to clean it up.
Yeah, just taking over on the offensive glass. Right now, the missed shots, the best post feed to McCullough.
Laco jump stops, draws the foul. Will be on Jamison Hill. And it'll send Laco back to the stripe.
Going back to what you said about Barry on the minutes, that might be a little deceiving because remember with Gerald's injury, he played probably 25-plus minutes for about half the year, and then when Gerald had come back, he went more to the backup role, even started to play a little bit more JV. So that probably doesn't showcase just how much experience he got a year ago.
Owen Burcham will re-enter the game for Fairland, and Grady Stewart, after a quick breather, is back on the floor for Zane Trace. Or is he?
Well, they're going to roll the dice and try to get Stewart back here on offense. Remember, he has the 2 fouls. That's where you trust the senior to be heady.
Grady Stewart, the dynamic athlete in 3 different sports for the Pioneers, already leaving his mark on the basketball court this season as Laco goes 2 for 2 from the free throw line. 31-28, Zane Trace.
Going to extend the court here a little bit. Barry's got to be able to handle it.
Barry being guarded full court by Burcham, and he lost it. They'll stay with the Pioneers, but that's something you mentioned. Barry got to be able to adjust to that pressure that Fairland's bringing.
Well, and what makes this so difficult is Fairland has a foul to give here in the quarter, so that on-ball pressure is going to be really, really physical, knowing that they can get away with one common foul.
Barry gets it across the timeline. Feeds McCullough outside. Now Stevens back to Barry. Stewart pump fakes, thought about it, gives it back to Barry instead. Zane Trace working their offense around the perimeter. Stewart, skip pass out to Stevens. Stevens, he'll drive, dishes it to McCullough, and McCullough able to put the cherry on top.
Yeah, big time find there. Got the defense to draw over. Easy bucket for McCullough.
Laco on the drive, underhand layup. What a finish from Trevor Laco. 12 points on the night for the senior.
Yeah, Laco's really impressive when he gets downhill off the dribble.
Here's Stewart. Zane Trace looking for the final shot. 1-footer from Stewart's no good. And the first half buzzer sounds. We played 16 minutes and a back and forth battle between the Pioneers and the Dragons. Zane Trace in front by a 33-30 margin here at halftime. We'll step aside and come back, give our thoughts on the first half from Kinnickinnick. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
Are you looking for the best deals on quality used trucks and cars?
Great news. Chillicothe Truck has what you're looking for.
Choose from a wide selection of makes and models. All vehicles undergo a detailed multi-point inspection and extensive reconditioning before hitting the lot. Our friendly team offers a no-pressure sales experience, ensuring you find the perfect vehicle to fit your needs. Plus, you can customize your ride with our extensive range of truck accessories, from bed covers to lift kits. Stop by 173 Rennick Avenue in Chillicothe or call us today at 740-773-8782 to get started right now.
Kimberly. Tons of practice. One chop away from a black belt. 7 of the best sidekicks. And 5 years since her cancer diagnosis at Ohio Health.
At North Fork Animal Clinic, we're more than your pet's health care. We're your neighbors. We combine top-quality veterinary care with the availability you can count on, keeping tails wagging and pets thriving. And as proud supporters of youth sports in Southern Ohio, we're committed to helping our whole community grow strong. North Fork Animal Clinic, caring for pets, supporting our community.
Richard. Countless nights in the garage. 8 shiny new pistons. 1 very happy 16-year-old granddaughter. And 2 years since starting cancer treatment at Ohio Health.
Since 1853, Tomlinson Insurance has been protecting families, farms, and businesses in our community. As an independent agency, we offer personalized coverage for your auto, home, farm, and business, plus health and life insurance too. And we proudly partner with Erie Insurance to give you peace of mind with reliable coverage at competitive rates. Tomlinson Insurance. Let our history be your future. Call us today at 740-773-4181 or visit us at tomlinsonins.com.
Rathkamp Financial is a comprehensive financial services firm committed to helping our clients improve their long-term financial success. Our customized programs seek to grow, protect, and conserve our clients' wealth by delivering personalized service and expertise. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member, FINRA SIPC. Please call us at 740-775-1040 to schedule a consultation.
At Chillicothe Comfort Heating and Air, your comfort is our priority year-round.
Whether it's blazing hot or freezing cold, we've got your back with fast, reliable service you can trust.
Locally owned, honest, and done right the first time.
We have financing options available for every budget, as well as 60 months, 0% interest.
Call us today and feel the difference that comfort makes.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Willie & Son Trucking. Willie & Son Trucking has been a proud supporter of local student athletes, coaches, and athletic programs throughout its history. Be sure to look out for the Shack Athlete of the Week presented by Willie & Son Trucking each week at SOSAOhio.com.
Mark. 6 months of training. 8 miles to go. A 3-way tie for almost last place. And 3 years since he and his team at Ohio Health left cancer in the dust.
Experience the hometown Chevrolet difference. Check out our huge selection of Silverado trucks, Equinox SUVs, and the latest Chevy models. Priced to move and ready to hit the road today. Plus, with the Hometown Advantage, you get free oil changes for life and a 10-year, 150,000-mile limited powertrain warranty at no extra cost. That's real value and real peace of mind. Your Hometown Chevrolet is proud to be your trusted local dealer of new and pre-owned inventory, delivering unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Visit us today at 501 West Emmett Avenue in Waverly or start shopping online at yourhometownchevy.com.
For 175 years, the Glockner name has stood for trust. Today, that promise continues. Every time your family turns the key. Generations have trusted us for one reason. We never stopped caring. From preschool drop-offs to road trips, you leave our service center knowing your family is in the safest hands possible. 175 years of social proof that this isn't just service. It's a promise from our family to yours.
Have you experienced simply brilliant fiber internet? Yeah, that's Glow Fiber. Lightning fast internet that keeps up with your busy life. A reliable fiber-to-the-home network whether you're working, learning, playing, or streaming. And best of all, Glow Fiber has real local support from real people who are happy to talk to you. And switch now for your first month free. Faster, more reliable fiber internet with real local support. Glow Fiber. Simply brilliant.
Wendy's has new chicken tenders. Crispy, juicy, tendery tendies. Ooh, that's fun to say. Tendies, tendies, tendies. And they're so good, maybe we should change our... For tendies you're gonna know by name, gotta be Wendy's.
Halftime here at Zane Trace as the final game of day one from the Tip-Off Classic. We've got to go to first half between Zane Trace and Fairland. The Pioneers up 33-30 after a half of play. Shane, what are your thoughts on the first half?
Well, it's an outstanding half. And before we get to the basketball, just want to give a shout out to one of my really good friends, Trevor Thomas, AD here at Zane Trace. Just went into the Tip-Off Classic Hall of Fame. Well-deserved there. And then obviously the hospitality room you and I enjoyed here a while back. Always a great facility here, always a great event that they run, and we're proud to be a part of it. So as you're asking about the particular first half, I just thought it was as advertised. I thought it was two really, really good basketball teams. I thought in the first quarter, Fairland was able to do a better job of bottling up Gunnar McCall and making it hard for him to get touches in space. And as a result, they were able to win that first quarter 15-12. In the second quarter, Fairland continued to find some things offensively. They scored 15 first quarter, 15 second quarter to sit at their 30. But the big difference was Zane Trace in the second quarter really, really got going when Gunnar McCullough had 12 of his 16 points. And I thought the difference was Zane Trace started to get into their stuff quicker. They started to get a little cleaner, reversing the ball side to side. So now when McCullough was on the flash, he was able to catch it in space. And then Gunnar McCullough was just an animal on the offensive glass. I thought that was a big, big factor in the first half as well, and something that Fairland's going to have to clean up to get right back in front in this game. But here we are, Zane Trace sitting with a three-point advantage.
Yeah, and we saw, you talked about the impact of Gunnar McCullough on the glass. He's really been leading the charge for Zane Trace. They've been able to find him just for some easy looks inside, but also just getting those offensive rebounds, giving Zane Trace those second chance opportunities. Even when he's not scoring, that's still extra possessions that Fairland is missing out on.
And a lot of times, Carson, when you're not rebounding the basketball, you always point to the box out, and that's fair. They certainly have got to be accounting for him and getting a body on him. But where it starts to break down is when you don't keep the ball in front. Zane Trace has had some success with Barry, with Stewart, getting the ball into the middle off the dribble. Now what happens is you start to have help have to rotate over, so when the shot goes up off the glass, McCall is hard enough to get off the glass when you have your best defender in front of him. Now when you're starting to scramble and you start to get some things, man, he plays with such a motor, and that's something they're going to have to really, really clean up, because he has the ability. He comes in last year as a junior, averaging 14 a night. Well, here he is already at 16 tonight. He's putting together quite a first half, and Fairland, I'm sure, is in there talking about how they're going to try to slow him down.
And if you're Zane Trace on the defensive side, how do you try to contain Trevor Locko, who had an electric first half?
Well, I think first things first is transition. You have to get five guys back in front of him. He's so dynamic downhill. I love how when he gets a step, he can really get to the rim, and he can finish with some right hand, some left hand, some reverse. So you really got to get back in front of him. You got to have really good dribble gap help and make sure that he can't get down below that free throw line, because when he does, if he can't score, he's going to certainly create some looks on the perimeter. And I look here at my sheet, Love's knocked down a couple threes. Obviously, Franson's a scorer. He has 8. So it all starts with keeping the basketball in front off the dribble, in my opinion.
Both of these teams in kind of a new era, new season. Obviously, the start of this 2025 season looking to get off on the right foot. We've played a half already, and we're hoping that the second half is going to be just as exciting as the first half was.
No question. I mentioned McCullough with 16. Stewart also in double figures with 10 on the Zane Trace side. Over on the Fairland side, Trevor Lacco with 14, Cliff Franson with 8, and then Gerald Love has the 2 3 balls for 6.
It'll be Zane Trace possession to get the third quarter underway. Same 5 that started on each side. We'll begin the second half as Zane Trace inbounds it, and they'll set up in their half-court offense with Roman Berry. Berry kicks it out to Stevens, feeds McCullough in the post. McCullough trying to work past Franson. Here's Noah Kaiser from outside, no good. It's Ford Rickard with the rebound for Fairland, and quickly the Dragons get it up the floor in a tie-up. And quickly, head coach Scott Thomas wants a 30-second timeout. We will stay here. Just 20 seconds into the second half.
Yeah, possibly ended up seeing something didn't like right away, but nonetheless used the timeout. And on that first possession, I thought Fairland did a much better job of recognizing where McCullough was at when he touched it, and he had help coming from different sides. He made a great read, kicked it out to the corner, and got a teammate a good look.
Scott Thomas in his first game as head coach of Fairland, first game as a varsity head coach. Got to chat with him for just a few minutes before the game, and his 2 sons, Luke and Clayton Thomas, both 2 of his assistants.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of fun, and obviously good basketball family there and good tradition at Fairland. I think he'll do an outstanding job.
Both Luke and Clayton Thomas played under Nathan Speed at Fairland as the deflection by Lance Stevens goes out of bounds. Luke Thomas, the older Thomas' son, actually went on to play college basketball down at Marshall University.
Brings great perspective, I'm sure. That's outstanding.
They'll inbound it to Lacco in the half court. Lacco comes off the ball screen. Franson inside, and the finish by Rickard, and a foul. Off-ball action. Ford Rickard goes flying down the paint. Cashes in off the glass.
Yeah, great execution out of the timeout. Get good ball reversal. Really, really good screen. And then, Rickard able to pop open there and finish at the rim, and going to get a free throw to go with it.
Rickard completes the and one, ties the game up at 33.
Fairland going to continue to apply just a little bit of one-on-one token pressure.
It's a Berry with it for Zane Trace. Over to Stewart on the near side wing. Pioneers surveying the perimeter. Here's Grady Stewart on the catch. Tries to feed McCullough inside. It's knocked away, and a foul called on the Dragons.
Yeah, tough call there, but you don't mind that one if you're Fairland, because you like that your kids have far better recognition in terms of the – they called that the other way.
They did.
And great recognition of what they were trying to run off of the flare and the slip. So yeah, that call goes against McCullough. So a nice break there for Fairland.
Some light pressure applied by the Pioneers. Fairland gets it up, and it's poked away from Lacco. Loose ball. There's a scramble for it. Tie up near midcourt, and it's a jump ball. Possession arrow points to Fairland.
Yeah, and right now you just have really good pressure on both ends defensively, and it's going to be which team, as I said earlier, can just clean up the ball handling in order to run their stuff, because both teams have plenty of offensive power, but you got to be able to dribble, pass, and catch to run your stuff.
Here's Love contested. Corner three, he hits it. Gerald Love's third triple of the night. gives the Dragons a 3-point lead.
Yeah, and after a while, you just got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to arrive on the catch. And right now, Zane Trace a half step late, and they're paying for it 3 points at a time with Love.
Zane Trace trying to answer. This back and forth battle has been won in some ways by turnovers. Some sloppy possessions back in the first half. Both teams looking to clean that up here in the second. Zane Trace slowing it down, looking for something to answer. Kaiser tries to feed McCullough. McCullough, a high post, can't get it to fall. And it's scooped up by Laco for the Dragons and knocked out of bounds. It will stay with Fairland.
Yeah, Carson, you look at that last scrimmage area defensive possession for Fairland. There was a lot of eyeballs on McCullough. They knew where he was the whole time, and they were able to force him out off his spot just a little bit and force the tough shot.
Dragons looking to go up 2 scores. Here's Laco on the drive, smooth as silk. Trevor Laco drives to the rim and cashes in.
Yeah, we talked about at the half. They just get downhill. Zane Trace not getting in that dribble gap and playing the ball screen very well.
5-point lead for the Dragons. Stevens feeds McCullough inside. He jump stops. Kicks it back out to Barry. Pioneers will reset.
Again, notice how he's drawing the double every time he touches it.
Barry backing off of Goo, his defender. Now Goo will charge up and guard him tightly. Some off-ball action. Here's Lance Stevens back out to Stewart. Barry gets it back to Stewart, being guarded tight by Ford Rickard. Stewart on the drive gets doubled. McCullough driving past Rickard, baseline jumper, rattles around the rim, can't go. And the putback effort is blocked, but he draws the foul.
Good aggressive move. He knew before anyone else that he probably missed the shot, and he immediately followed it and got himself in a real good, powerful position to explode up with 2 hands for the offensive rebound. And as a result, going to go back to the line again, just proving to be a tough matchup, and that's the 4th foul on Goo.
McCullough's first free throw's no good. They'll sub Kyan Page in for Maddox Goo. And I imagine he'll spend all but probably the last few minutes of this game on the bench, just trying to protect him with 4 fouls. Bryce Johnson enters the game for Zane Trace. McCullough splits the difference at the line, 38-34 Fairland.
McCullough 3 of 5 on the night from the line, now has 17.
Franson will set the table for Fairland. Comes off the ball screen, kicks it out. Here's Laco from the corner off the mark. Franson with the rebound, and he cleans it up for 2 more points. And Tyler Cassidy's going to want a timeout to talk things over. Fairland comes out swinging in the second half, 40-34, Dragons lead. We'll quickly step aside. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
Kimberly. Tons of practice. 1 chop away from a black belt. 7 of the best sidekicks. And 5 years since her cancer diagnosis at Ohio Health.
(40-34) in favor of the Fairland Dragons. 4:28 remaining here in the third quarter. Shane, I don't know if you could have asked for a better start to the half for Fairland.
Well, great recognition in the scrimmage area of what Zane Trace is trying to do. We've played about 3.5 minutes here, and Zane Trace still looking for its first field goal in the second half. While on the other end, Fairland able to really get downhill, get to the rim, and they've been able to convert, and as a result have opened up a 6-point advantage.
And something I think has played hugely in Fairland's favor is the on-ball pressure. You see they're going to apply some full-court press on this inbound. They'll get it into McCullough. Up the floor now, Stevens. Fairland backing off. You notice Laco tightly guarding Grady Stewart. We'll see what that matchup looks like here on. Here's Stewart from the corner, off the mark. McCullough with the rebound, kisses it off the glass. Sound like a broken record, but Gunnar McCullough with another putback.
Well, much better offensive possession. You get a quality look, and as a result, he becomes more difficult to box out.
Laco can't answer with a three, and a steal by Bryce Johnson. Johnson has some trouble possessing it. He'll pick up his dribble, and the Pioneers will slow things down. Johnson outside finds Stewart. Stewart again off the front iron. And it's Franson with the board.
Yeah, another good look. They got caught underneath the screen there. Fairland dodges the bullet.
Deflection by Stevens. Franson trying to go to Laco in the corner. Lance Stevens read that perfectly. Some more substitutions. Stephen Jones will enter the game for Fairland, as does Jamison Hill for Zane Trace.
Remember, Jones did a pretty good job on the defensive glass there in the first half. Let's see if he draws a little bit of the McCullough assignment as well.
Jones sets a screen for Franson. Contested three is good. Cliff Franson fires the cannon and knocks it down.
Yeah, right in rhythm. Again, we talked about a 6'3" high release earlier. He can get a shot whenever he wants it.
Cliff Franson's triple extends the lead to 7, coming up on 3 minutes to go in the third. Stewart one-on-one with Laco. Contested shot and a travel. I hinted at the defensive matchup. Laco guarding Stewart works out perfectly for the Dragons.
Well, and Carson, the other thing you start to get into second part of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, this is the time of game where that on-ball pressure starts to wear you down. You've had someone kind of leaning on you, some hands on you, so forth. It's where you got to stay really mentally tough as much as the physical side of it.
Hudson Williams enters the game for Grady Stewart. Pioneers working a 2-3 zone defense. Here's Kyan Page, corner three off the rim. Barry able to corral the rebound. Zane Trace looking for an answer, trailing by 7. Here's Stevens from outside, too long. Page tried to get the rebound. It's stolen away. McCullough can't finish, gets it swatted. Williams able to scoop up the loose ball. Pioneers reset the possession.
Great hustle from McCullough to win another possession.
Stevens, underhand dish. McCullough too strong. Page with the rebound and a kick ball by McCullough. Heads up for the Zane Trace cheerleaders. So Jones will re-enter the game for Fairland, replacing Kyan Page.
Big opportunity for Fairland here. Up 7 with the basketball, coming up on 2 minutes third quarter. Execute and maybe push this thing to 9 or 10.
Laco for 3, no good. Long rebound, won by the Dragons. Owen Burcham hauls it in. A new possession now. Love from the corner, in and out. Franson in the air with the putback. Largest lead of the night for Dragons. It's a 9-point game.
You all made part of Zane Trace not wrapping up the original possession with a rebound. Fairland gets another opportunity, and then on the second offensive rebound, cashes in.
Pioneers trying to dig themselves out of a 9-point hole. Here's Barry. Barry trying to work past Jones, spins off of 1 foot, no good. Franson with the board. Dragons pushing it up the floor. Here's Laco. Laco through traffic, draws the foul. You've seen the aggressiveness from Trevor Laco. He's just able to get the ball, make one move, and it's full steam ahead.
Well, and a lot of it, Carson's what I talked to you about at halftime. You notice when they got out in secondary break, by the time he gets into the scrimmage area and starts to go to that crossover, you still have a couple white jerseys behind the basketball. You got to get 5 guys ahead of him.
Franson spins around in the post, off the rim, gets his own rebound. Franson with the putback. Cliff Franson. Too strong inside, double-digit lead for Fairland.
Yeah, now it's 9 in the quarter, 17 in the game.
The foul called at midcourt. It'll go against Owen Burcham as Grady Stewart gets ready to check back in for Zane Trace. He'll come back in replacing Jamison Hill.
Carson, what I like about Franson, he scores easy, I like to say. You know what I mean? He averaged 12 a game last year. that number is going to go way up this year because obviously he's going to be called up on a bigger role.
Under a minute to go in the third quarter. Here's Barry on the near side wing. Stewart, top of the key, triple off the rim. A fight for the rebound is won by the Dragons. It's Bertram, long pass up the floor, intended for Laco, picked off by Barry. Barry, he'll do it himself, can't finish. Stewart cleans it up. Stewart can't get it to go. Loose ball on the baseline, won by the Pioneers. Stewart, again, this time he'll finish.
Well, plenty of opportunities. Zane Trace finally gets one to go there.
Franson thought about the three. He'll drive instead through contact. Cliff Franson, too strong. The strength and physicality of Cliff Franson has propelled the Dragons to an 11-point lead. One last possession for Zane Trace. McCullough got to get off a shot. He just gets it off and it's no good. And Fairland takes control in the third quarter, an 11-point lead going into the final 8 minutes of play here at the Tip-Off Classic. We'll quickly step aside and be right back for the final quarter. You're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
Since 1853, Tomlinson Insurance has been protecting families, farms, and businesses in our community. As an independent agency, we offer personalized coverage for your auto, home, farm, and business, plus health and life insurance too. And we proudly partner with Erie Insurance to give you peace of mind with reliable coverage at competitive rates. Tomlinson Insurance. Let our history be your future. Call us today at 740-773-4181 or visit us at tomlinsonins.com.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Willie & Son Trucking. Willie & Son Trucking has been a proud supporter of local student-athletes, coaches, and athletic programs throughout its history. Be sure to look out for the Shack Athlete of the Week presented by Willie & Son Trucking each week at SOSAOhio.com.
Carson Francis and Shane Combs with you here at Zane Trace. Shane, Fairland came into the second half trailing by 3. They outscored Zane Trace 19-5 in the third quarter, and they find themselves in front by 11.
Yeah, it was just all Cliff Franson there for a stretch in that third quarter where Zane Trace was having trouble stopping him. And then on the offensive end, Zane Trace with just 5 points, only a couple field goals. And, yeah, I thought they had some decent looks at the three-point line and just couldn't get them to go in. But Fairland certainly started to ramp up the pressure.
Zane Trace will start the fourth quarter with possession. Shane, what does Zane Trace need to do offensively to chip away at this deficit?
Well, right here, right out of the quarter, they need a really good possession to get this thing back to single digits. But they've got to make sure they're getting quality looks every time down. You can't give away possessions, especially just like this early in the fourth quarter.
Errant pass from Stevens intended for Bryce Johnson goes into the Zane Trace student section. And Fairland will get it back. Trevor Laco, the floor general, brings it up the floor, coming off a ball screen. Here's Gerald Love again for 3. Gerald loves that corner, and he knocks it down, his 4th 3 of the night.
Yeah, he's had a 3 in each quarter so far, added up for 12, and that's been just a huge floor spacer for Laco and Franson.
12 points on the night for Gerald Love, all from outside. McCullough tries to answer with a 3 of his own and does. And quickly a 30-second timeout called by Tyler Cassidy to quickly ease things down, talk things over. Nice answer from Gunnar McCullough.
Yeah, it really was. And, going back to the other end, what I was talking about, you get a guy like Love that can catch and shoot. You have to be so close to him on the catch. What that does, Carson, is it really forces you to stay at home a little bit more. Well, think about it. That's opening the court up for Franson and Laco to play more one-on-one in space. So it's a really nice compliment in terms of how all of the Fairland kids can play together on that end.
Zane Trace now down to just 2 timeouts remaining for the remainder of this game, trailing by 11. Goes without saying, a stop here is all the more important for the Pioneers.
Yeah, still plenty of time. Looks like Coach Cassidy's going to stretch the court out defensively a little bit, put Stewart up there with his length on top, see if you can create a turnover.
Laco and Franson Working the backcourt for Fairland. Laco gets it across half court. Laco swings it back out to Franson. Franson off the ball screen, drives, and a foul.
Yeah, they're going to get, looks like Burcham there on the illegal screen.
Will be his second foul of the night. Possession back to Zane Trace. Noah Kaiser gives it up to Roman Berry in the backcourt. There's Johnson on the wing, gets it out to Stewart. Now Berry. Pioneers working the perimeter. Here's Stewart again. Stewart, ankle breaker, drives. It's blocked by Jones. And Fairland unable to possess it in the backcourt. Goes right back to Zane Trace. Just a hectic turn of events there on both sides.
Yeah, Stewart and McCullough talking to each other there. When Stewart had the one defender fly by, he was trying to tack downhill. McCullough was caught with the defender behind him, couldn't really move the space.
Johnson to inbound on the baseline, gets it in quickly to McCullough. There's Berry being guarded tight by Page. Grady Stewart from downtown, in and out. And a long rebound won by Noah Kaiser, and he throws it off of Gerald Love. Possession back to the Pioneers.
Yeah, great hustle from Johnson and Kaiser. Good execution from Zane Trace there on their OB under to get Stewart a really quality look. Just couldn't get it to go down.
It'll be Kaiser to inbound. You get it into Berry. Now back out to Stewart in the corner, being guarded tight by Laco. Stewart drives, picked up his dribble, and another Zane Trace turnover. Talk about the defense from Trevor Laco.
He does a really good job of showing his hands. That's something I always thought was important to teach, and when teaching physical on ball, you got to show your hands. If you do so, the official will usually let you get away with a little bit more body, and right now the body is on the bump has caused a couple travel violations.
Fairland gets it across half court. It's Love. Now Franson with it. Franson crosses over, comes off screen, mid-range jumpers blocked by McCullough. Big stop for the Pioneers. They look to capitalize. Here's Stewart. Crossover, kicks it out. Johnson, pump fakes, mid-range jumpers good. Bryce Johnson from the elbow gets it back to single digits. 4 points on the night for Johnson. There's Page, corner three, off the rim. Johnson with the board.
St. Trace gets what they want from that token pressure, the quick shot.
Stewart lost his dribble, gets it over to Berry. Now back to Stewart in the corner, contested three, it's good. Grady Stewart from outside, lead down to 6.
Right back in the token pressure here. You see how it's slowing Fairland down. St. Trace able to put a little pressure of their own.
Franson down the middle, easy on the floater. Cliff Franson had a wide open lane and connects. Lead back up to 8.
Yeah, way too easy. Once they got into the scrimmage area, you can't let the ball get that deep.
Stewart brings it up for the Pioneers. Berry on the drive past Page, kicks it out. Kaiser for 3, too long. Offensive rebound by Berry. Berry on the drive, gets it swatted away by Page, and it'll stay with Zane Trace. Substitution, Stevens will replace Kaiser, and Maddox Gu with 4 fouls will re-enter the game, but not before Scott Thomas wants a full timeout, and we will quickly take it with him. 54-46, Fairland in front. Here in the fourth quarter, you're watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
Rathkamp Financial is a comprehensive financial services firm committed to helping our clients improve their long-term financial success. Our customized programs seek to grow, protect, and conserve our clients' wealth by delivering personalized service and expertise. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member, FINRA SIPC. Please call us at 740-775-1040 to schedule a consultation.
Wendy's has new chicken tenders. Crispy, juicy, tendery tendies. Ooh, that's fun to say. Tendies, tendies, tendies. And they're so good, maybe we should change our... For tendies you're gonna know by name, gotta be Wendy's.
4:47 to play here at Zane Trace. Fairland ahead by 8 after Scott Thomas burns a full timeout. in front late. What's the mindset here if you're Fairland?
Well, I think you got to be careful not to take the air out of the ball too early. I think as long as Zane Trace is going to continue to apply that pressure, you want to stay aggressive and do the things that's helped you build this lead. If you're Zane Trace, again, I can't stress enough, got to have quality possessions. You can't give away opportunities to score when you're trying to play catch up.
Stevens finds Johnson in the corner. Now McCullough, high post, jump stops. Picks up his dribble, trying to get it back out. It's Barry. Now Johnson just inside the arc. 4:30 to play. Stevens out to Barry. Barry from outside, off the back rim. Rebound McCullough. Now Stevens for three, no good. And Laco charges in for the rebound. He can't hold on to it. Goes out of bounds. Pioneers get possession back.
Yeah, but Zane Trace, 2 decent looks. I wouldn't say great looks, but decent looks. But Fairland unable, Carson, to wrap up the possession, and I think that's why you're seeing the sub that you're seeing here. I think they recognize Jones is giving him some defensive presence on the glass, and you got to be able to finish the possession.
They inbound it to Stewart. Stewart, baseline, pull-up, knocks it down. Grady Stewart's jumper puts the lead back at 6 for Fairland.
17 for Stewart now.
Stewart applying some pressure on Franson. Dragons got to get it up, and Scott Thomas wisely will use another timeout to avoid a 10-second call. Just under 4 minutes to play. We'll keep it here. Shane, now Zane Trace applying some full court pressure, trying to keep Fairland from getting some clean possession.
Yeah, earlier it was in more of a token look. That time I thought they started to apply a little bit more ball pressure out of it. You know, a good timeout. A lot of times that timeout through the first or second quarter might not be worth the possession. Certainly here under 4 minutes in a 6-point game it is. And now if you're Fairland, you want to come out of this timeout and execute, not just in your breaker, but I think you want to execute and continue to stay on the attack here. I think it's a little too early to take the ear out of the ball. I think they have enough offensive talent that I would continue to push forward another, probably minute and a half, and then see where I'm at.
And personally, for me, I like the matchup that Zane Trace is going with, putting Grady Stewart on Cliff Franson. The size difference isn't much. I think they're both listed at 6'3". And with the way Franson has been attacking the glass, getting these second possessions on offense, you want a guy like Grady Stewart who can be a little physical at times to rough him up.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think, again, keeping the ball in front is the key because Fairland's going to space the court with some shooters.
They'll switch it and put McCullough on Franson. Stewart guarding the inbound. Franson got to get it up the floor. He crosses the timeline. Now he's doubled, gets it into Love in the corner. Fairland not trying to rush anything, but trying to play with this Zane Trace pressure. Here's Franson through a double team, got it poked away by Stewart. Stewart can't hold on to it, and it's taken away by Love, and a foul called on Stewart. Ball just moving around like a hot potato. And Fairland able to win that battle.
Yeah, and Zane Trace got what they want with the turnover again. Fairland not really looking to go on the attack. They were kind of spaced out and luckily able to get the possession back.
Goo trying to inbound, throws it off of Grady Stewart's foot. He'll try again.
Carson, that was Stewart's 3rd foul, so I mean, that could become a factor. We'll keep an eye on that down the stretch here.
They inbound it to Laco in the backcourt. Laco gets past his defender. Laco to the cup, and he's able to finish once again. Trevor Laco on lock at the glass.
Yeah, that's a big-time move, and that's what I'm talking about, staying on the attack. They don't really have an answer for it downhill.
8-point lead again for the Dragons. McCullough, three-pointer, no good. Johnson with the rebound, second effort, off the rim. And it pinballs around, out of bounds, possession to the Dragons.
Yeah, and it's hard to, look, if you're Zane Trace, it's hard to doubt the effort. Johnson, McCullough working hard. They just couldn't get the thing to go back in. And again, you just got to keep playing, but the effort is certainly there.
Coming up on 3 minutes to go, here's Maddox Goo in the front court. Kicks it out, Love. He'll fire from downtown again. It's no good. And it's McCullough holding in the rebound.
And again, some people would have a problem with that shot. A young man that's hit 4 of them tonight, I don't. That's the type of shot that could have been a dagger.
Barry from outside knocks it down. Roman Barry from deep makes it a 5-point game. And we're going to have a technical foul assessed on Laco. Shane, we saw in the Logan Elm Bexley game prior to this, it was a technical foul late that swung the momentum in Logan Elm's favor. We could see the same thing happening here.
Oh, no question. The one you're referring to was a 4-point basketball game that resulted in a 4-point possession on the other end. And basically, Bexley didn't score the rest of the game and went on to lose. Here in this case, you're up 8. A guy knocks down a 3. You're going to get the ball right back here on the offensive possession. Instead, it really serves as a turnover. And now Stewart at the line, chance to make this a 1-possession game.
First technical free throw from Stewart is good. Laco will head to the bench. Ford Rickard will get ready to check in for him. Second free throw from Stewart to make it a 1-score game. And he hits it. It's back down to 3. Pioneers can tie it up on this possession.
So again, if you're Fairland now, you got to regroup and really lock in on the defensive end. If you're Zane Trace, you've done everything you need to do to get right back in this thing. Time's not as big a factor now. It's a 1-possession game. Just run your stuff and take the best look that comes available.
Stevens inbounds it to Barry. There's Stewart in the corner. McCullough trying to post up on Franson.
Begging for it.
Barry back out to Stewart. Stewart for 3 off the rim. And it pinballs around, rebound Love. Franson trying to get it up the floor, picks up his dribble, guarded by Stevens. And another timeout called by Scott Thomas. With 2:18 remaining, Fairland ahead by 3 will keep it here. And now all of a sudden you feel pressure applied on Fairland with momentum swinging in Zane Trace's favor.
Well, following the technical, he had Laco off the floor. Laco did just go to the table there, so he's going to come back in. So it's going to give Fairland another ball handler. At 2:18 to go, still a couple fouls to give. So what you're going to see in today's basketball is you're going to see some really physical on ball, and we'll see how they officiate it. So far, that hasn't really bothered Laco downhill. He's been able to play right through the contact, and let's see following that technical if he can compose himself and compete here, because from the basketball standpoint he's been outstanding. But again, in today's game you got to be able to compose and compete.
Laco re-enters the game, has a moment with the official, probably an apology it looked like. All is good on the floor for Trevor Laco. He's back in the game, 2:18 remaining. As Stewart able to disrupt the inbound pass, Fairland will try again.
Well, with the length of Stewart, they're having a lot of trouble just inbounding the ball.
We'll get it into Laco in the backcourt. He's being guarded tight by Stevens. Stevens on the ground, Laco up the floor, Love from outside, no good. Johnson with the rebound.
Outstanding defense, recognizing Love's been able to get those off. That was by far one of his worst looks of the night, and it was all because the defense was there on the catch.
The tight pressure from the Pioneers, able to force a miss. Stewart from the corner, no good. McCullough with the rebound. Barry, step back, triple, off the mark. Barry gets his own rebound, and he's able to finish. Back to a 1-point game after the putback from Roman Barry.
Well, Zane Trace has the confidence to just keep putting the 3-ball up because they're able to run down the missed shot.
Franson picks up his dribble at the foul line, back out to Laco. Laco out to Burcham. Fairland slowing things down a bit. Here's Franson in the post. Franson spins, turnaround, can't finish. Gets his own rebound. Tries to get it back and swatted away. Bryce Johnson. Johnson up the floor, and the Pioneers will reset with 1:11 left. Barry from outside, it's good! Roman Barry gives the Pioneers the lead, 1 minute remaining. Love from outside, knocks it down! Gerald Love answers right back.
5th 3-ball tonight for Love. Barry hadn't had a field goal all night. All of a sudden has 7 here on 2 threes here in the, has 7 in the quarter, or 8 in the quarter with 2 3-balls, Carson. It's been outstanding back and forth basketball.
Timeout, Zane Trace. Roman Berry gives Zane Trace their first lead of the second half. And then Gerald Love answers right back, his 5th three of the night to put Fairland up by 1.
Yeah, you look down at the score sheet here. Berry had a free throw back in the second quarter. Other than that, hadn't had a field goal. And then he goes 3-ball. He goes offensive putback and another 3-ball right here in the fourth quarter, right at winning time. Zane Trace comes all the way back to take the lead. But then Love answers with his 5th 3-ball of the night, and you can tell in the confidence there was no hesitation at all. Missing a couple didn't bother that young man.
Shane, Zane Trace ball just under 45 seconds left. Obviously, no shot clock, so there's no restriction on how long they can possess the ball. Do you think they try and run this clock all the way down and get the last shot?
Whenever I was trailing, I felt like I wanted to go as early as possible. Again, there's no rush, but you wanted to get the best look. That way, it gives you an opportunity, if you're unable to execute, to maybe come back and foul and so forth. But keep in mind, both teams have 2 fouls to give. That could certainly play in the time and score here. But I would imagine Zane Trace, unless this clock gets down 15, 20 seconds further without a shot going up, I think early on they'll look to play normal.
McCullough inbounds it to Stevens. 40 seconds left in regulation. McCullough with it, being guarded tight by Franson. Now Stewart near the mid-court line. Stewart working on Laco. Stewart backs it out. Gives it up to Berry. 26 seconds remaining.
Great team defense against McCullough on the roll there.
Berry out to McCullough. Now Stevens. Bryce Johnson on the wing. 17 seconds. Stewart off the dribble. Stewart, baseline drive, puts it up off the rim. Johnson with the rebound. Put back, no good. Stewart able to grab the rebound. Stevens, 5 seconds to go. Stevens, runner, off the glass. In and out, scramble for it. And time runs out. The Fairland Dragons survive in Kinnickinnick.
Unbelievable effort on both sides. Zane Trace just keeps on keeping on, playing on the offensive glass. They just couldn't get the ball to come in and give both teams a lot of credit. Everything we thought it would be on opening night. If this is any indication of what we're in for here in the 25-26 basketball season, then sign me up.
The Scott Thomas era at Fairland High School starts with the win column in dramatic fashion. 59-58 your final score from Zane Trace. Fairland starts the season 1-0. We'll quickly step aside, come back, give our final thoughts on this exciting game from day one at Zane Trace. You've been watching the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health.
Since 1853, Tomlinson Insurance has been protecting families, farms, and businesses in our community. As an independent agency, we offer personalized coverage for your auto, home, farm, and business, plus health and life insurance too. And we proudly partner with Erie Insurance to give you peace of mind with reliable coverage.
At Chillicothe Comfort Heating and Air, your comfort is our priority year-round.
Whether it's blazing hot or freezing cold, we've got your back with fast, reliable service you can trust.
Locally owned, honest, and done right the first time.
We have financing options available for every budget, as well as 60 months, 0% interest.
Call us today and feel the difference that comfort makes.
Kimberly. Tons of practice. One chop away from a black belt. 7 of the best sidekicks. And 5 years since her cancer diagnosis at Ohio Health.
Back here at Zane Trace High School, some post-game awards, and we will quickly step aside and let you listen in. Cliff Franson and Gunnar McCullough named game MVPs. Shane, I think you could have picked just about anybody on either side with how dramatic and exciting this game was, and it results in a 59-58 win for the Fairland Dragons. The Scott Thomas era at Fairland starts with a win. What a way to end the night here at Zane Trace.
Yeah, it really was. Zane Trace put together a really nice second quarter and had control of the game at halftime. Fairland comes right out in the second half and really made some nice halftime adjustments on McCullough. As a result, Zane Trace was able to get some guys free at the three-point line. But I thought the adjustment on McCullough on my sheet here, let's see, McCullough had 16 at the half. I think unofficially I have him finishing right around 22. So a really good job there. Fairland's able to open things up. Now then give Zane Trace credit. They start to extend the floor defensively a little bit. They come all the way back, and they end up taking the lead there at the one point. But, man, Gerald Love, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 three-pointers on the night for 15 points. And, boy, did he hit a couple big ones down the stretch there. You know what I loved about it is he'd missed a couple late in the game. Remember, he'd missed a couple. I thought the one previous to the big-time make, I thought he rushed a little bit.
It was a heavily contested one.
I thought he rushed a little bit, but, man, there was no fear in him at all. That's what I look for. And when the ball got back to him, he's like, Coach, let me shoot another. And boy, did he deliver for his team. And as I move forward, I said this during the game. I want to make sure I highlight it again, because I've got Franson for 21, Locko for 18, Love with 15. Love provides the floor spacing that's going to make it really difficult for teams to match up with Locko and Franson. This Fairland team is only going to get better as the year goes on, and I think that's going to be a big key for Zane Trace. The reason I mention that again, Carson, see if you follow me on this, with Stewart and McCullough on the other end, right now they're looking for a couple guys that can space the floor and provide a little bit of that spacing needed for those guys to get more one-on-one opportunities.
I don't know if someone pulled the fire alarms here at Zane Trace, but those are going off in the background. We will try and alleviate some of the pain you hear from that noise as well. But talk about that last possession here. That was a quick response here from our staff at Zane Trace. Talk about that last possession where Zane Trace had it with about 45 seconds left, and they kept it the entire rest of the time. Fairland was just able to do an amazing job standing their ground. It was almost like getting a goal line stand in football. They got a couple offensive rebounds, but when it mattered the most, they were able to hold Zane Trace off the board and come out with a win.
Yeah, well, I think both teams will look at that probably from different perspectives. I don't know that Zane Trace was necessarily trying to go all the way down to the final shot of the game. They took some early looks. Where I would give Zane Trace the biggest credit in the second half tonight, I thought they played really hard on the offensive glass, and I thought the last possession of the game showcased that better than any, and they just couldn't get the thing to go back in. If you're Fairland, you feel like you survive and advance a little bit, but what a learning opportunity in film when you can look not just at that possession, but so many different possessions over the course of the night, saying if we would just wrap up with a defensive rebound, this could have been a far better defensive performance. As a result, you go and you give up, 58 points on the night. But yeah, I would say Fairland feels very fortunate on that final possession, because Zane Trace had three different guys that had pretty legitimate looks to win that basketball game.
Well, Fairland moves to 1-0, their first win of the season, and Scott Thomas's first as head coach. They'll get some lengthy time off. They won't be back in action until next Friday, December 5th, when they travel to Portsmouth West. Meanwhile, for Zane Trace, it's no rest for the weary, if you want to put it that way. They start SVC competition right back here Tuesday night against Westfall.
Yeah, and that's why you play these types of games, though. In coaching, a lot of times you'll hear people say we make some of our biggest improvements from game 1 to game 2. And the reason being is you get out here and it counts for real and you put it on film. And Zane Trace is going to be able to look at the film tonight, and they're going to be able to say, hey, we did a lot of really good things, but here are 3 or 4 things we did. We're going to take care of the basketball a little bit better. We're going to have to recognize how to keep the ball in front, because it's costing us to get home on three-point shooters, and it's really costing us to protect our own defensive glass. And then obviously they just want to shoot it better, and some of that will come with experience and just conditioning and so forth. But again, that's why you play these types of games, is so that you can go to the film and come right back at it, and come league play, like you said, really, really important when they get things started there.
Day one of high school basketball season and the Zane Trace Tip-Off Classic in the books, but we're not done here yet, Shane. Friday, after we all enjoy a nice Thanksgiving dinner at our homes tomorrow, we'll be back here for some more action here at the Tip-Off Classic. John and Kenneth will have the call from the 1 o'clock game, RCCA taking on Piketon. And then, Shane, you and I will be back here for the nightcap, Chillicothe and Bloom Carroll squaring off at 7.
Who's not excited about that? Look forward to all of it. You know, I like to eat a little bit tomorrow, and then I love me some basketball. And I think you and I got a great draw there on that night cap come Friday night.
And if you're not doing anything Friday, feel free to grab some leftovers and tune in to SOSA Ohio, either on our YouTube channel or on our website, sosaohio.com, to tune into all the action there. From Kenneth Hay, our cameraman, John Bruce, and Shane Combs, I'm Carson Francis. We thank you for tuning in to tonight's presentation of Ohio High School basketball on Southern Ohio Sports Authority, presented by Ohio Health. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and a great rest of your night.